Greetings and welcome to another Patch Notes discussion video here at Words About Games. It's a weekly video series where we do discussions, lists, dream game pitches, retrospective reviews. I planned to have the thing in front of me so I could just say what they were, and then I was like, and then we started talking about XCOM. So yeah, and also the new Discord layout threw me off. So thanks for that, Discord. I don't have an overlay for this particular layout. Thanks for the heads up, you bastards. I'm your host, Amy Alexander, joined in this particular video by Keith Robinson.
Yep.
And Mr. Moody. Contrasting light and dark approaches. Moody's in a darker environment, but he's wearing like bright light clothes to signify that he's the protagonist. Keith is in the lighter environment, but is channeling his inner Sith, signaling he is the antagonist. And I guess that makes me
Piggy in the middle?
Yeah.
Hollywood taught me leaving the damsel in distress, but you know.
Yeah, that's true. I'm probably the damsel in distress. I have no agency of my own. This week, on a Patch Notes discussion, we are doing the opposite of the last discussion that we did. So the last discussion video we did. We talked about what video games we'd like to see adapted into mostly TV shows and movies. Today, we're going to talk about the things we want to see adapted into video games, which is a much more fruitful discussion. As I was talking to Keith before we started recording, I was like, my heart wasn't really in the other discussion because video game movies are terrible.
I've literally just done a full episode on my podcast about them.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to see this happen to any of my favorite video games. Whereas, like, licensed video games have been awesome since Batman Arkham Asylum happened. So yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to talk about our favorite books, comics, movies, TV shows, animes, whatever else that we want to see adapted in video games. I've thought about, like, I was going to say, got some out-of-the-box ideas, but what I realized I did was I quickly took the box and I threw it off a cliff from some of my picks. Because, like, video games aren't just about shooting and punching people anymore. Or, like, jumping on Goombas' heads and hitting question mark boxes. Or Tetris. So, let Keith go first as we do this discussion. And then we'll just see where we get to.
So, you did say that, like, one of the things that I was going to choose, you weren't going to bring up because you did an entire Patch Notes video on it. So, I'm going to get this one out of the way because it's kind of a cheap one. Because this franchise, and it is a franchise, has been put into video games before. It's just a bit of a bugbear for Amy. And it was disappointing for me that it hasn't been done.
Justice.
Yeah. So I'm going to go just with Star Trek. There have been Star Trek games in the past. Some of them are running shooters. Some of them are sort of tactical space command games. But what Amy's really wanted for a long time, and what I think would be kind of cool, would be a Star Trek RPG. Like a proper RPG. I mean, at the lower levels, you could have sort of, say, a Mass Effect version, where you're giving like a small spaceship.
You brought props. I feel underprepared.
You got me that. Yeah, so you get a small ship, then you have a mission, you go out, and then so you can go on your little away missions. Instead of using some strange rope, you just beam down and drop down the shuttle. You go do your things. You have a lot of personal interactions with your crew, like up to possible romance options as well, if you go in the whole Bioware route. But just not what we got, well, what Russell got when he started playing Star Trek Online, which was like, you beam down to the planet's surface, and occasionally a ship appears and you just fly around shooting things.
That was a fun bug.
Yeah. So you actually sort of do like missions as opposed to quests, I would envision. And a game based on exploration, actual conversation wheels and stuff would be like quite good and stuff. It's like, wait, this Renegade, you're going against the Prime Directive here, Captain. To Paragon, no, we must sacrifice our beloved crewmen to maintain the Prime Directive. Those sort of choices and stuff would be pretty cool. I think the best sort of game we've got is Commander.
Breach Crew.
Bridge Crew, that's it. That would be. I just suddenly remembered that when we were talking about this. That's a very Starfleet sort of game, but it would be quite cool, I think, to have a one where it's not running good and Starfleet sort of stuff. Because I know you and Russell did a playthrough the Star Trek game based off the motion picture when the second film came out, and then just like
that was fun. That was before we did YouTubes and stuff and Twitch. Otherwise, that would have been a hilarious stream. Me and Russ mainline Star Trek the game from like start to finish in one go, and there were some good jokes in the game. But apart from that, it was fucking terrible.
No, sort of like classic Star Trek, like original series, DS9 and Next Generation sort of like feel. Not everyone running around shooting stuff would be kind of cool. You can still have that sort of stuff in it if you wanted. But I think that would be kind of a cool idea, and I thought it would be kind of we'd ease in because the rest of my options haven't been made into video games as far as I'm aware. So.
No, I mean, do you have anything to add to Star Trek, Moody? Because I did a 10-minute video on this, and I could talk for hours about what they could do to make an awesome Star Trek RPG.
Star Trek was on my list. I won't deny that, and it is the way of how you guys have suggested as well as a Mass Effect type of game. I think that would be pretty much perfect for it to have a good good story with in-depth characters and everything like that. What Star Trek is very much known for, basically. They do take their times when it comes to developing their characters for the most part. Unless you're Star Trek Picard and you just ruin them all. Sorry, yeah, that's what I've always thought for it. I think it would be pretty much perfect. I've always thought do it without any existing lore, create your own type of thing and everything like that. For me personally, that's how it is for me. But other than that, I think that would be perfect. So it's amazing that because I think it's Activision who own the game rights, is it?
It was. I don't know if it is anymore. It's weird. No one really knows. Ubisoft made a Star Trek game in 2017, and I asked the question then, and I asked the question periodically, like, does that mean they have the Star Trek license? Nobody seems to have it at the moment.
Yeah. Like, I'm playing through just because I want to play some shippy pew-pew-pewness on Star Trek Online right now. The game is not good. Let's just be frank about that. It plays really badly, especially on consoles. But it just passes the time for me when I'm playing. I just I've get my ship. That's it. And I'm flying around, and that's basically what I do. They're doing all the other missions and everything like that. It's very generic. Yeah. Very lazily done.
I played it.
I have to know what sort of ship you have.
I've literally just started a new character, so I've got the Miranda class right now, but with my other character that I have a Kira class.
Props.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Amy have had conversations about what stuff you can tell when there's what stuff ships are like tonight, and I do love the look of the Kira class. One of my favorite.
Kira class is sexy as hell. It's like it's just an aircraft carrier, and that's what I love about it. And everything. My next one, what I'm aiming for that character is the Defiant, because I just love that little thing.
Tough little ship.
Yeah, tough
little ship. Yeah. And then after that, it's Sovereign class.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I just want Deep Space Nine, the whole station.
I've just done the missions with being at Deep Space Nine. It was, even though it didn't look great,
it didn't. No, I did play that part.
Nostalgic. Yeah. I was just like, oh my god, there's Quark. Oh my god, serve me a drink.
Yeah, I did play it.
Do it now.
I did get to that part of the game when I was playing it, and there was like a mission. I remember doing a mission where you accidentally travel through time and bump into the original Enterprise, and there's some cool nostalgia moments. But yeah, it's not a great game in any way.
At least it's free.
It is free. It wasn't when I started playing it. Ha 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 ha.
Our friend Russell bought it.
Same. I bought it.
Yeah, he bought like a collector's edition or something. It's like, oh,
He did go all in on it. I only bought the game. He bought like the collector's edition and made most of his
that's
money back for selling it on, which was
yeah. You saw it with
good
his
for
cousin.
him. But yeah, no, like Star Trek RPGs in the style of Mass Effect, like classic BioWare, is a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
And has been for many, many years. Like I think I've originally wrote a blog post on the subject in 2012.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. Cool. Moody, what's your first go-to?
Sticking with the same theme, I would love to do see the same treatment for Stargate.
I'll just delete that off my list.
I think that would be absolutely brilliant. Your own team, you can go through, and the main thing is to go for the Stargate most of the time. Even though, yes, I would love to go up to the Daedalus class ships and everything like that, but that I think would be really, really good. That type of thing. Same thing for me.
Yeah.
So, are you basing it on Mass Effect or XCOM? Just one.
It could be both, but for me, I would want the story, true interactions, Mass Effect for me overall.
I made the XCOM joke because I used to run a Stargate RPG session for a search and rescue team,
That was fun.
and yeah, the rules were so broken. It was 18 to 20 crit on a Jafar staff weapon. So Amy's character got downed like 5 times in
Yeah.
the first one of that episode.
So my character was like the techie character. He like pushed the buttons, did all the Sam Carter stuff, and yeah, like if in that system, a Jafar staff weapon critical hit would just kill me. So there was a couple of, but to be fair, you made a couple of storylines based around the fact that me getting critically wounded, which was you're a good DM. But no, like yeah, it was on my list, Stargate. And it was specifically like the Mass Effect treatment, where it's like you've got the base, the SGC base, where it's like this is like basically the Normandy from Mass Effect 3, where it's like your characters hang out here and you can explore around, visit all the different places, interact with them, build your relationships with them, go through all your missions through the Stargate on like some narrative quest, whatever the narrative is, and then there'll be like side missions and stuff you can do. Pepper in some missions where you're on the spaceships or an Earth mission or two, and it's like got to be incognito, low profile.
The thing is, when they first started doing Star Trek Stargate Destiny, there was images used in that episode from a unreleased Stargate game that they canned. That's how one of the characters, was it Eli?
Yeah, they tried twice. There was a first person shooter which actually came out. But it was like a team deathmatch thing. And then there was the MMO, because everything was supposed to be an MMO back then. Because that was when World of Warcraft was at its height, and that got cancelled, probably for the best. Seeing it, like, having, like, followed the development, because obviously I'm a massive Stargate fan. But no, like, a single-player, like, RPG type thing would be freaking great. But first, I'd imagine the Stargate itself has to make a comeback before someone goes, we can make a video game out of this. Or I'll just send DMs to like all these developers and publishers and just be like, Stargate would be an awesome video game. Here is my 45-page PowerPoint presentation on the subject.
Here's my elevator pitch.
Yeah. Here's my elevator pitch. Just link them like the video. Like, I'll do a Dream Games video for it and just be like, take this idea. It's free. As long as I can play the game. So I've got a varied list for myself. It goes in all sorts of different weird and wonderful directions, but in the vein of easing in before we start getting into the really weird ideas, I'm going to go with something that's fairly obvious, which would have been Stargate, but obviously Moody beat me to the punch. It's Lord of the Rings. So there's been Lord of the Rings games like that have adapted the books or the film specifically, and they're all pretty terrible. There's been some really cool. would you call them spin-offs? The Middle Earth games, the strategy game, and the Shadows of Mordor
I think the Shadow of Mordor and
and
Mordor
All War. Like, yeah, they're like spin-offs, and they're really good. But like a trilogy of games that like follows the stories from the books, the movies, like either or. I'd probably prefer the books because the pacing's a lot better in the books um, than it is in the movies. But the like to just like get that as a video as like a big. I don't know if it would necessarily be an fully open world RPG because it's kind of like it's a journey between, I guess, almost hub worlds. So like, because the whole premise of Lord of the Rings is most of the characters for most of the story are moving from like place to place to place to place, going on journeys to get the thing. And in that way, it's kind of perfectly built for a narrative video game adventure because like that's what you do in video games. Like you see the thing, and that's well, we've got to get to that thing. So then you go through the place, and then you get to the thing, and then you have to get to the next thing. And then obviously in the like sort of the first book, which would be the first game, it's really easy to sort of like all of the main characters are together for most of that story, and then obviously as you get further into the story, they all start branching off, and you can start going in different directions. But like the between all the being, imagine like playing all of the different characters at different points of the story. It's like you have all sorts of different gameplay styles open to you, where you've got like the hack and slash stuff, or you could be Legolas for a bit and just surfboard down elephant trunks while you're shooting arrows at orcs. Please don't do that. I hate that.
Yeah, I was thinking Lego's kind of done this, but yeah, you didn't get the surf down at that.
Well, Lego's kind of done it, but like I just like in terms of like a game adaptation of like of a franchise, and this isn't a knock against Lego games at all because I appreciate their existence, but it's like if a Lego game's done it, that doesn't really count for me, like because Lego's a very specific thing. Like there was a Lego Jurassic Park game, like but an actual Jurassic Park survival game would be really neat. But I don't really count the Lego part of that because the Lego is its own tone and style. Like you fit the IP into the Lego framework rather than fitting the Lego framework into the IP. So that was my sort of like easy pick of just being like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but like the actual like like. Most of the time when I talk about adaptations, it's like, don't make it a straight adaptation, make it your own thing. But with this, it's like, no, make the adaptation as straight as possible to the story of those books. And look at me, I started with books. Nerd. Nerd. I've got, weirder stuff coming, don't worry. Does anyone want to input anything into that?
Lord of the Rings is a good choice. There's no doubt about it, going into the world of it. I think it's a very good choice. You can do if you can get the nostalgia of the characters that you already love and everything from the games or the books. And yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Not necessarily a BioWare template though.
Yeah. No. Although I'm sure there's plenty of people that would want romance Legolas.
I mean, I could think of some pretty cool romance options, but not very many because there's not very many women in the game or the book.
But one does have a badass scene where she literally says, "I'm no man."
I am no man. Keith.
Yeah. So to move style of games away, because we're definitely moving away from Mass Effect style. I would kind of like a sort of CSI / police investigation game based off Terry Pratchett's The Watch series from Discworld, because I think that would be amazing. Or CSI Waterdeep, which has been suggested many times by the Pannier Arcade crew. But my favorite series of books from Discworld is the Watch series, where you play as where you read about Ankh-Morpork City Watch attempting to solve crimes, some of which are like ridiculous in like scope. But Terry Pratchett had this wonderful way of like just showing you start off in like cities, like, oh yeah, you've got trolls and dwarves and like humans and magic and dragons and stuff, and you end up dealing with like real world problems like Shaheen with problems with everything, and it starts off in the first book. It's like, oh yeah, it's about dragons and stuff, and it's mostly a story about greed, and the main character in the book is an alcoholic who goes from being an alcoholic to a recovering alcoholic by the end of the first book. And then in the later books, there's just everything about like racism and sexism, and there's this whole thing about what gender you identify with, which goes from the second book onwards because all dwarves got beards. So like they don't use he and she's, and then there's this whole movement for all these dwarven women to be like, oh yeah, I want to be seen as a woman. And it's like, okay, so that's the sex and transgenderism came in. And it's just a wonderful, diverse world. And some of the characters are just so brilliant and amazing that, yeah, I would love a Discord. I don't know if it would be point or click or a bit like the old fashioned sort of like Broken Sword stuff, or probably a bit more like the I was going to say Treasure Island, that's not it. Guidebook Free Squad, Monkey Island, that's it. It might be a bit more like that because there is a lot of humor in the Discord series, even when they're dealing with really serious things like racism and slavery and dealing with people who have much stricter and different belief systems than you are. There's still a lot of humor and stuff in it, which is just wonderful, and I think it would just be wonderful. I mean, wouldn't you just love it? Like, you've got this watch officer who's got to like interrogate, like figure out what's going to happen, and Death is just standing there, and then it's like, okay, so the Death, we've got one witness who is that Death. We can never get him to go on record. And then there's a mission where you're so stumped you go off to like Death to try and get it to tell everyone what happened.
So, point and click would be cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I approve of this choice. Terry Pratchett's always maybe it's now that we're in lockdown, I might get around to actually reading it. Like actually sitting down and taking the time to read it. But I'm gonna throw a game out there for gameplay style alone, not like mood or tone or anything like that. But LA Noir, in terms of you're talking about like a CSI Ankh-Morpork.
Yeah.
I know enough to know what that is.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you take that sort of everything about that, and then you just transpose it into like LA Noir's detective gameplay style.
Yeah.
And then with the humor and the comedy and the interactions and the serious undertones, which was also in LA Noir as well, to be fair. But I don't like... I mean, don't get me wrong, a point-and-click game would be great. But when you say Terry Pratchett and point-and-click in the same sentence, I just have, like, horrible PTSD flashbacks to Discworld.
Yes. Discworld was a little too non-sequester for, like, some of the things. But yeah, no, you can get, like, CSI games stuff where you look around the room and like, you find the things which are missing. It's not like
those CSI games are pretty okay. I played a few of them back in the day.
Yeah. But I was the sort of thing that's like, it's like you have the Mr. equivalent of a blacklight, which is just a blacklight. Or you have like the vampire that comes along to take the photographs of all of the crime scenes, and you have to keep picking them up. And because every time he takes a photograph, the exposure turns to dust. It's just a wonderful like premise and world, and I think it would be awesome. I know there was a series called the Watch coming out, which is taking quite a few different liberties with. So maybe you might get like some sort of game. I would prefer to be a bit more close to the source material than is not, because the source material is just so wonderful.
Fair enough. Moody.
Amen.
I thought I'd jazz up your name for no particular reason.
Well, I've just been adding to the list, obviously, going through my stuff. And I'm going to go for one. I'm going to go for this crazy one because I think it'd actually be really funny. Groundhog Day.
Oh, God.
I think that would be a very interesting game where it could be a sim, kind of like maybe like SimCity or something like that, but where you are literally trying to... You can go in any direction you want. You could literally just give up and literally just try and kill yourself as many times like he does in the film, or you can literally try and sleep with every woman or man in the thriller in the city or whatever. Do great deeds, do bad deeds. Either way, you can literally just manipulate it into a way until there's probably maybe no real end game or something. I don't know. I haven't really thought well into it, but yeah, I think that would be a very intriguing way to do it.
As soon as you said that, the first thing, there's a game coming out called 12 Minutes, is it?
Yeah.
But also the Stanley Parable kicked into my head when he said, there's no real end to it. I'm just like, God.
Yeah, it's like you do a Groundhog Day video game. There's only two ways you could have an ending, and the Stanley Parable popped into my head where it's just like just tons of really weird, crazy endings that are insane but also awesome. The second one would be it's like PT. You can do all this stuff, like you get all of you just do all the different stuff, like you decide to try to kill yourself, or you can try do a bunch of stuff that Bill Murray tries to do in the film. But there's a way you can actually like end the game, but it's like PT. It's like trying to get the ending of PT. It's just ridiculously convoluted and like so stupid.
As soon as you say it's like the whole window, like that whole Groundhog Day thing, that like time loops is some of the best episodes of like Stargate with Windows of Opportunity, which is all funny and stuff, especially when they start realizing there's no consequences to actions, and then ends with the "I lost my son" speech. And then there's like the Star Trek Destiny one, where it's just like it keeps exploding.
This Discovery episode where he keeps blowing the ship up. And the Next Generation episode where they keep blowing the ship up.
There was an episode of of Legends of Tomorrow where the computer makes one of the characters think they're stuck in the time loop, but that they understand the importance of difference in time, which is cool.
Well,
I wasn't though. Yeah.
No, just because of my... So now I have two good segues into two things that are on my list, whereas before I just had the one, but you bringing up Legends of Tomorrow gives me another segue. But I'm going to stick with my original thought, which was, it's not like Groundhog Day. I found out some interesting facts when I was putting this on my list. This is, my next choice is going to be my one and only anime, because I don't watch much anime, and I've started to make a list, a lockdown anime list of like ones I'm going to watch that I've been told are really, really good. But this is one of my favourite anime. No one seems to have ever heard of it. It only ran for 13 episodes. It's amazing. And it's owned by Square Enix. Apparently they do anime too. But it's called 1 Week Friends. So this is a bit weird. This is a bit like more divergent of like gameplay like styles, where I was talking about like I'm gonna come up with some weird shit. Where the premise of 1 Week Friends is there's this guy at school. I want to say his name is Yuki. That might be right. It's been a long time since I watched it. And he's trying to befriend this girl called Kaori, who doesn't want to be his friend at first anyway. It turns out she basically, the whole premise of the series is she has short-term memory loss, so every week she forgets what happened in the previous week. I won't go into like spoilers about what's going on with that because it's a part of the show and you should definitely watch it. It won't take very long because, like I said, there's only 13 episodes. But like the whole like series is just about their friendship, like, and trying to, so like he's trying to sort of like be her friend even though she keeps forgetting him every Friday. I think it's like every Friday or whatever, every week basically. They come back to school on Monday and it's like she's completely forgotten what happened in the previous week. And I think it's like and I thought of this before I learned that Square Enix actually owns the rights to it, but like I feel like a studio like Dontnod could take that sort of premise and just make it into a really cool like video game of just like you are Kiru. I'm pretty sure it's Kiru. You are Kiru, and you are just like trying to befriend this girl who's has this problem with short-term memory loss, because the series itself is really like it's kind of like the premise is kind of boilerplate, but the series itself is just so beautiful. And it's just such a great thing to watch. And I think one of the main reasons for that as well is it's always about friendship, and there's never about romance at any point. Like, it doesn't get to the end of the series and it's like they're professing their true love for each other. Like, it's always just about them being friends. And I think like a studio like Dontnod could really like take a premise like that and just make it into a really cool video game experience with all the feels.
Dontnod have been pretty darn good with that of late.
Yeah.
And like we say, both you and me, like when we talked about our most anticipated games, Dontnod's newest game that's coming up for exclusive on Xbox, I believe, we're both excited for.
Yeah. Tell me why.
So,
But I think that, and then I think they could totally take a thing like 1 Week Friends and just make an awesome thing out of it. And it's like, as someone who doesn't watch much anime, for me to have like a favorite beyond everything anime, like I was like, I'd love to play this as a game.
it's a great idea. But I won't lie, I've never heard of the anime.
It's really good. It's on Crunchyroll. Or it was. I don't know if it still is, but
I will definitely have a look when I get a chance.
if you watch anime, give it a watch. It'll only take a few hours. 20-minute episodes. There's only 13 of them. Keith.
So, for my next one, I would like to take the premise of a TV show. Well, it was a movie first, but then it was a TV show. And then
Stargate again, I was going to say.
I want to take the premise, but not necessarily the characters and stuff, because I think it would work better if you weren't using the original like cast and stuff, and it was just that premise. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Basically, you play as someone who is the Slayer, trying to like balance high school life with sort of, which could be sort of, I don't know, monster prom dating thing with like social interactions. Like you try and make have friends, maintain friends while you're doing this Secret of a Life, where basically you're playing Geralt of Rivia, where you've got to investigate what the creature is, try and figure out what it is, stop it from harming other people in the community, either by killing it or binding it or something. But you're basically monster hunter during the night, or like sometimes, and then other times you're sort of like, oh yeah, I've got a side test on Friday, but I'm gonna have to skip like a day of school because I've got to get this creature, but I can only get it at noon, so I've got to skip every single lunch break.
And you've got to
so you're looking at like kind of like Persona type of game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Persona. That's a better idea, because I was like trying to think of how to like get it, but it's basically Persona, but it would like start off as like nobody else knew who you were, what you were doing, and then you could slowly try and maybe get your friends aboard, or like maybe like try and shield them for that, like the sort of superhero. Oh, what you don't know won't hurt you. And I think that could be a really great sort of game. Yeah, I suppose you could call it a Western Persona game, because basically I'm a Witcher, but I'm also a high school student. Oh my god, I'm failing chem.
And you've got to like balance the slaying with like your relationships, social relationships, and also with school.
I'm doing great at being Geralt of Rivia, but horrible as being like a young adult.
I'm doing amazing at being a Slayer, but also my mother just kicked me out of the house. That kind of thing. Like,
my mom's kicking me out of the house, but it's okay because I can kind of live with the school librarian.
Just like adapt it for the modern age. So it's like instead of it being like 90s kids, it's millennials, obviously.
Yeah.
That would be. God damn, as soon as you said it, like all of the things just flashed before my eyes, and then you said Persona, and I was like, oh my god, that would be amazing. Like, I remember the original Buffy games that came out when the when the series was still a thing, and they weren't great. Like, they were just action fighting games, but like if you go all in on the premise of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a game that like has equal parts action, social stuff, and then like all of the like balancing all of the stuff in life, that would be amazing. Oh my god, how did I never think of that? I'm totally gonna make a video about it. Hope you realize I just brought this up so I could mine this for video ideas. Moody, what's next?
I'm gonna go for, because I've got a few here, survival horror Jurassic Park game.
Dino Crisis.
Yeah, you could shoot the dinosaurs in Dino Crisis.
True. Yeah, this one they don't really, you don't really get the chance to shoot them because it's not really in the films that much, really. No. Apart from when it gets to Jurassic World, really, where it's just like I'm walking around while the raptors are fighting the big guy, and I'm just going to keep on shooting. But whatever,
get him.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I think that would be pretty decent to have the type of thing. maybe you're trapped on there and you're trying to survive with this small group of people. One go off by themselves, you get like, bye, dude, see you, so long. If they die, they die, they are gone, in that all type of thing scenario. So I think that'll be pretty decent to do.
That'd be cool.
Like Walking Dead, Jurassic Park.
Yeah, some kind of like that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, probably more like
Maybe not in the
person.
Telltale type of. Maybe not in that type of, because I know the Telltale did a Jurassic Park game, which apparently wasn't the
don't talk
greatest.
about
I never
that.
played it, so I haven't played it. I can't comment on it. But yeah, I think a survival horror type thing would be pretty decent with it.
It would.
Use the sound. Use sound as the horror part of it, because and just because of what they can do, and if you can hear the boom,
Yeah.
boom.
And then there's
And
like the
I think
raptors and the
that'll be-
clicking noise that the raptors make and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's like you play through the opening of just like you get to, in the opening you get to explore Jurassic Park, like an open Jurassic Park a bit, and like get to go and see all the cool stuff, and then it just like builds and builds where it's like, oh, that's weird, there's a commotion over there, and oh wait, hang on, and then it just builds into like everybody's running and dinosaurs, and it's like the beginning of RE3. You just like all of a sudden you're just like, I fucking need to run here because I'm gonna get fucked up.
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty decent.
Yeah, then it's just a nice little stealth game. That would be cool. That'd scare the shit out of me. Jurassic Park gave me nightmares when I was a kid. Here's my next one. This is a bit different. This can be a VR game or not a VR game. And I think either way, with where technology is in terms of like video games, like in general, like it could go either way, and it would still be an amazing experience. I'm just really going to say what it is, and I don't really need to make a pitch, but it's Planet Earth, like the video game. So you got like all the you watch Planet Earth before, at least know what it is. Where it's like he goes to all the different like places on the Earth that are like ridiculous and amazing, and beautiful and terrifying, and
Yes.
and everything in between. It's like just imagine that as a game, and there's no like quests, and you're not running around trying to like hunt down things or like complete missions or like action in any way. It's just like cool. There is this place on Planet Earth. You are as a character in a game. Just go and have a look at it. Like
You
Just go.
exist as like the animal, like
Even-
doing
yeah.
animal things. And you learn about it.
yeah.
That is cool.
Like it could be just a first person thing where you just like, oh my god, it could be like a thing where you're like you are the animal and you are like exploring the environment like as a penguin in Antarctica, or like as some kind of sea animal in the deep sea, whatever. Or it could also be a VR thing where it's like or have a VR component where it's like, cool, there is this amazing environment, but I've got a VR headset, so I'm gonna pop that on and it's the same thing, and I'm just looking around like, wow, I'm actually here. I think it would be awesome. I'm surprised nothing like that has ever happened.
I mean that there was that one about the human ancestry, whatever, which
Yeah, we don't talk about that. That's twice I've said that in a row. Oh dear. Keith,
I
save
think that
me.
would be a good idea. I
Okay.
won't lie.
So there is a band which my brother introduced me to. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Ebony Park or Ebony Park.
Amni Park.
And they have a album called Aoife Shanties, in which there is a song, I think it's called Aoife Shanties, where they sing "We are the airship pirates," and Ebony Park is basically a steampunk band, and a lot of that album is basically them being airship pirates, and the crew is perpetually drunk, and I think it would just be. I think this game should probably be made by Airship Syndicate. But basically, like, so I think that Battle Chasers or like JRPG feel, you're just like basically you just become the captain of a ship full of airship pirates. You need to go around, and like half of like your missions are just trying to get alcohol for the crew to keep them happy. There's a potential for a lot of fun, but also a lot of cool stuff. I mean, it's like just steampunk aesthetics on everything. You're all attacking other airships and or ships and stuff. You get to live out your pirate and your steampunk sort of fantasies. Just I don't know what the main plot would be. I don't know if there'd be some sort of world saving incarnation, or you're literally just trying to fly around, be pirates, and occasionally avoid some like Cthulhu or something. Because steampunk
Sure.
quite easily transfer it to Eldritch horror.
I mean, I'm down for being an airship pirate. Like, it's fine by me. And you said the magic words, JRPG. And you know how I love JRPGs.
Yeah.
Moody.
I'm gonna go off my favorite TV show of all time, and I'm gonna go off a specific episode of season 5, the final episode of that, and it's called Back to Reality, and the show is Red Dwarf. And basically, on that episode, they are put into a hallucinated state where they believe their life has been a video game, and everything they've been doing is all wrong and everything. But I'm going to basically flip it back to that you are playing a video game and you can change it and do things in whatever way you want to do. Like some of the craziest missions that like one of the guys literally says to the crew is like, how did you die by this squid monster? Saying its ability to include use the laser cannons and all like that. And I think it would be just a really fun idea of how to do it like that type of way and everything, and just go full on bonkers, infused with the comedy of what's Red Dwarf and everything. I know for a lot of people that might not work because it is a very British show. And yeah, that's why I think that would be pretty decent. Don't know how you do it yet, like what type of style. Don't know if it's going to be like first person, third person. I think probably overall third person, but I don't know if it'll be RPG or that. So.
When you said it was like better than life, and I'm like, because I've seen the series. I haven't seen the stuff since I went to Dave, but I've also read the books, and it's better than life was in the book. It was like this VR game, which was they find the capsule because they finally catch up with one of the mail carriers coming in.
Yeah.
And then it's like the very next one says, whatever you do, don't put it in because it's 100% addictive. Once you're in, you can't get out because it is better than life. It's just like, everything's wonderful and stuff, and then I think then you get out because Rimmer's brain breaks it because he just can't accept good things happening to him. So it's Rimmer just has all of these wonderful things, and then it all goes wrong for him, and then he breaks everyone else's visions of the game as well when he tries to get help. But yeah, that's a cool one.
Cool. So for my next one, I'm gonna pitch a movie that you definitely haven't seen, Keith. I think Moody probably has. Movie podcast person. He's generally seen most of the movies I've seen, and then some. And it's a horror. Because I was eventually gonna go to horror. It's not like one of my number one genres, and It Follows. Because there's what the movie is about is in the title of the movie, and it is like even just watching the movie is anxiety, and a lot of it is like it's so well sort of done as an understated horror film. And basically what happens is it's like the worst STD you could possibly catch, where it's like this thing that gets passed from person to person, and it follows you. And it takes like forms of like different people and stuff like that, and it's like in the trailer and in the movie, it's described as like it just walks towards you, and you're dead if it catches you, but it never runs, it never stops, it's just walking all the time towards you at some point, so you can get away from it, but then eventually it's just going to catch up and it's just going to be following you, and doesn't that just sound like a perfect thing for a video game? To scare the crap out of you. It's always out there. And it's always following you. And it's not that difficult to get away from unless it corners you. But you gotta stop eventually.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. I won't deny that. But no, I think that would be that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
I won't lie.
It's a really, really good film as well. Pro tip. The soundtrack is incredible. Never listen to it while you're out, out and about, walking around. Because I made that mistake once where I was like, oh yeah, the It Follows soundtrack. It's really, really good. And then I was like, I was on like the Metro platform thing and the music kicked in and I was like, okay, I gotta stop listening to this now. Cool. Keith, do you have any more?
I was just like thinking, I just need to really do this to tell you what I'm thinking.
Okay, I think we're gonna. I want to combine yours with mine then, because I have an idea which is similar in scope. But you go first.
So Batman Arkham series was really cool.
It's putting it mildly.
Arrow's just finished. Maybe combine those two things together, because Arrow's Green Arrow is very much like Batman, in many ways. Rich kid, rich kid, like vigilante, has a few tools and stuff. Not as many as Batman. It doesn't never get to the ludicrous sort of level.
I mean, he did do the boxing glove arrow once. I mean, it was a joke, but he still did it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you could get a couple of cool things out of that. It would be a bit different than Batman. I mean, there would always be people that would complain that it's very similar.
Ironically, that's what happened when Arrow started.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just Batman. Yeah, but it's good, so shut up.
Yeah, the first two seasons of Arrow are like first 2.5 seasons are really amazing, and then like season 5 is amazing again. I think it's 5 where
it's pretty amazing too. Yeah, like I obviously keep winning. Like I think was it literally the last time we sat down and do a discussion like this where we talked about how much I love DC Comics characters. So it's like, yeah, my thoughts went to this. As like a thing. Like the only thing about the Arkham games, and I don't think you could have done this in the Arkham games because of what they were about, like what they were all about, is like you never got like Bruce Wayne. You never got the character stuff, like the story stuff. It was always just he's Batman, being Batman, doing Batmaning things. Which is what Arkham's all about. It's like the worst, like Arkham Asylum is like, one of the toughest nights Batman ever faced, going into Arkham Asylum and doing all this stuff, and then the same in City, and then Arkham Knight. But like if you could do that in like say a Green Arrow game, where it's like it's not just about him being the Green Arrow, there's also the story stuff on the sides because he's got a good supporting cast of characters. Not saying Batman doesn't, but like Green Arrow certainly does. But when I wrote the idea down, I sort of took it one step further, and I took inspiration from the same thing you did. Not necessarily a recreation of what's on TV, but we've got the DC Arrowverse, which is like a bunch of interconnected TV shows. And we've got the MCU, which is a bunch of interconnected movies. Why don't we have a DC universe? Like, I'm going specifically DC because that's my passion, but it could just easily be Marvel. But why don't we have a DC universe of games? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can have a bunch of the different characters, and the games don't necessarily have to be as big and expansive as Arkham Knight was. But, like there's a roster of characters there with, like, a really cool variety of different gameplays that different studios could unlock. Like you're talking about doing a Green Arrow one, and it's like, well, cool. What if you just did like a Justice League, but instead of it being the Justice League game with all of the Justice League characters in it, it's like 8 different games of like all the different characters. So you have a Flash game, and you have the character, not a Flash game. And you've got like
it would be hilarious if April Fools did the Flash game as a Flash game.
That would be funny. But it's like you could have like a Superman game, you could have an Aquaman game, all these different games, and then they all just like feed into each other and all exist in one big universe. I think that would be cool. And yeah, you could do it with Marvel, but nothing they do in the video game space in that way is probably ever going to top the MCU. for like a connected universe. So why not do it with DC?
As long as it's not Batman, that's all I care about because I'm sick of Batman games.
Well, I think Batman would have to be a part of it, but
Start with him last.
yeah,
But I think with the Green Arrow, you start off with it's like, oh yeah, you can do unarmed combat and stuff, but also you can like snipe with the bow and arrow, which is something I really quite like doing in games.
yeah, and you've got all the
Mono or
different
Tomb Raider.
trick arrows as well, and then you've got the Flash, which would be an entirely different type of game.
Yeah.
Superman would again be an entirely different type of game. Aquaman would be super. You know what I mean? Like you could just like use all the different characters, and then you maybe bring them together for one big, huge game.
Flash would be a mixture between like sort of I would say sort of a puzzle game and that John Wick game, where you plan everything out.
Yeah, you could do it like that.
Yeah, that.
There was a game on PS4 called Infamous Second Son where you weren't moving as fast as the Flash in anyway, but like you did have like the ability to sort of zip around between enemies and stuff, and there was like the foundation of a way you could do a Flash game in that game. And then they started making Ghost of Tsushima, so and abandoned that concept, at least for a while. Moody, I'll let you talk now. Sorry to jump on your idea there, Keith. It's just I had something similar on my list, and it was like made sense to bring it up then.
Absolutely fine. My next one is going to be in the same vein as Don't Nod Games, kind of like the one that you pitched, but Amy. But mine's going to be Toradora. It's an anime as well, around 25 episodes. I think it'd be perfect for you, Amy. I think it'd be right up your alley, especially for as you wanting to get into anime. It's a character. Let me try this again. It's a story. It's a high school story about a young man and a young girl who are trying to set them both up with each other's best friends and everything. And shenanigans ensue throughout the entire series. It's some amazing character development with all of them. You fall in love with all the characters and everything, and it's just so well done. And I think in a type of like a don't nod type of style, I think it'll be really, really, really good.
I have Toradora. It is really cool. I don't want to spoil anything by going on about what happens.
I'm already on Crunchyroll. Yeah, that sounds really cool.
The dubbed is brilliant. The dubbed is brilliant.
That does sound really cool, and I now have it open, and because of that, I may start with my anime journey with Toradora. That's a really good idea, and I just thought of something to follow up on that with, and then it's just left my head completely. No, it's back. Crunchyroll. This one wasn't on my list. When I went to Crunchyroll, I remembered there's one thing I've watched on Crunchyroll recently that I fucking loved, and I keep trying to get Keith to watch it. Do you know, you've probably seen one of his videos. It used to be a Vine before that went away, and he just moved over to YouTube. It's called ProZD, and he does like the short sketches. You'll have definitely seen them before because they always they go viral so much. But he did a live action series on Crunchyroll called Anime Crimes Division, and even as someone who is lapsed in my anime watching, it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's like basically he plays a detective in New Otaku City, and literally like they solve anime related crimes because like everything like there's like gangs subbed versus dubbed, like there's like gang warfare between the subs and the dubs, and then there's like the crimes are all anime related. It completely spoofs anime, but like in a respectful way where it's like they love anime, they're just gonna spoof it. And then in the third series they introduce a new place called Prestige TV City where they just talk shit about prestige TV, so like Mad Men, Game of Thrones, all this other stuff. It's a wonderful like TV series up on Crunchyroll. You should definitely watch it, but it would make a pretty funny game too.
Now, I think we're gonna have to add like a proviso on this episode of basically also a watch list for your logging.
Yeah, you should watch all of the things or read all of the things that we are talking about here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Like when you mentioned that and I went to Crunchyroll, I was like, I remember this thing. And it's really funny. And if you don't know who ProZD is, you should go watch his YouTube channel because it's also really funny. And his videos are like a minute long at most. Keith, do you have any more?
No, no, I'm still thinking, but I don't have any at the moment.
I figured since I latched onto both of yours, I would just circle it back around and see if you had anything. Moody, what have you got?
Pirates of the Caribbean, Black Flag style. You're becoming a pirate basically, but obviously an assassin. You are doing full-on pirate things more than you did in really Black Flag personally. Going full-on pirate's life for me and everything. You don't have to have Jack Sparrow in or anything like that. You can literally just start with new characters and all like that. I think that'll be poised better and everything. You can maybe have like references to them, but other than that, that's basically it. I think that'll be with the so much craziness that you have, that they seem like they were hinting at what they wanted to do for future sequels after End's World, at World's End, should I say. I think you could really do something more like into that and everything, and I think it'd be pretty funny.
Oh, pretty cool. I was at the first Pirates of the Caribbean. And then
I love the films. There's a lot, I know a lot of them, they do go downhill, a lot of them, but they're just perfect guilty pleasures for me. I just sit back, enjoy, get into the all like that, and the Pirates life for me. I've loved all of them. There are problems with them, do not deny that. Johnny Depp goes way too overboard sometimes, but yeah, I love them.
if you enjoy it, it's not a guilty pleasure. Simple as that. Let's see. I'm gonna go with a Netflix film next that I watched. Loved the first part. Loved most of it. It was just the ending that I didn't get on with, and it's called Annihilation. And you can scrap the ending altogether for like some sort of video game style adaptation because you only need the part in the middle. So like, I don't know if you guys have seen Annihilation. It's a horror movie. Sort of. It's more of like a psychological thing as opposed to like a scary thing. But it's basically like the premise is Natalie Portman's character takes with some other characters going to this weird sort of, I don't know how you describe it. It's like this biome has basically appeared on Earth, and they keep sending teams of people in, and then they're never seen again. And then Natalie Portman goes in with a group of soldiers, and it's really fucking weird. Like the shit that like they find inside, and like because it's essentially terraforming like a part of the planet. So the further they get in, the weirder stuff gets. And it's like, to use one specific example without wanting to spoil too much of the film. At one point, there's a bear. I'm pretty sure it's a bear that's in there, and it's a bit weird and it's a bit fucked up and stuff. And it kills one of the characters, and then later on, it comes back. And it's like he managed to use his vocal cords to mimic the screams of the character that it killed. And it's this really, really creepy as fuck scene. And I think you could translate that into a video game really easily, where it's just like, hey, there's this place on Earth. You need to go and explore it and figure out what the fuck's going on inside of it. Also, it's one of the strangest movies you've seen in years. So like translate that to being like, it's one of the strangest things you've seen in a video game in years, and you just let your imagination run free while you're trying to survive in this almost alien-ish location that's just recognizable enough as you try to get to the center of it and figure out what's going on. It's a shame about the ending, but what are you gonna do? The rest of the movie was awesome.
It was a film I heard that lived and died on its ending. Some people liked the ending, some people didn't. That's what I hear.
It was worth watching because the lead up to the ending was fantastic. But yeah, the ending, you might love it, you might hate it. I think it's one of those things where you'll go one way or the other. But the build up to it was just like, this is fantastic. I love everything about it. And I think you can make a really cool video game out of exploring that type of place, like a third person type of thing.
That would be interesting.
How many do you have left, Moody? You have infinity left, right? So give me you top three quick fire, and then I'll do the same, and then we'll close it out.
Oh, no, you put me in place
I've
now.
put you on the spot.
Put me in the spot. Okay, I'll go with this one. Speaking of Alien, the Audible / book Alien River of Pain, and this is the story of Hadley's Hope, of what happened there before Aliens, basically before Ripley and the Cloning Marines went there. Basically, you are the people trying to survive this alien infestation and everything, and basically that's it. It's a. I'll be fair to say it is a grim game, because it would be you wouldn't survive basically by the end of it. As we all know, if you've seen Aliens, Newt is literally by herself, but at the end trying to survive for God knows how long. I don't think it's ever really iterated how long she is by herself, with these monsters on her in her area. I think that would be very intriguing to see, just to see what you could do and everything. And with what in the book, it hints at other things that maybe other people might have survived. Who knows? And everything. And I think trying to do that concept and just trying to hold them off, I think would be a great thing. I don't know if that's in kind of like an XCOM type of thing, maybe, or if it's a sim. If it's just a similar, like kind of like a Star Trek Armada or something like that, or Age of Empire. I think it'd be something good. I think that'll be pretty decent. The other one I have is a Star Wars game. This is the Claudia Gray's book, Star Wars Lost Stars. If you haven't read this, definitely give it a read. It's one of the best Star Wars books I've ever read. It's absolutely amazing. It's a story of two star-crossed lovers. This is actually in the byline, so I'm not spoiling it. One is in the Empire and one is in the Resistance, and they are trying to make sure they don't hurt each other, basically, and that their own morals are doing that they're doing what they truly believe is right. I think the one who's in the Empire, it would be an absolutely fantastic character to play, because of her own morals and everything throughout the book. Was just like, what? There's multiple times you are literally saying, why are you still there? But she literally, because of how she's been raised and everything, she literally can't do this. She cannot leave and everything. She will literally go down fighting for the wrong side, quote unquote, depending on your side. But
I think that sounds like it would fulfill the promise of the Battlefront 2 campaign.
Probably, yeah, definitely, yeah. That's spot on. That's basically what you would want at the end of the day. And the final one for me, I'm gonna go a little bit religious. I'm gonna go Ben-Hur, where literally just once watched it with a Charlie Heston movie, the 1954 film, I think it is, or 59, one or two. And it literally, sorry.
There's one with chariot racing in, isn't it?
Yeah, that type of thing. But that film starts with the birth of Jesus and everything, and kind of it ends with him dying. But it also goes through the life of
a theme in your picks here.
It also goes through the history of Ben-Hur himself, of going into slavery, fighting his way out, going back to hopefully try and save his family and everything and whatnot, but obviously having a deep religious take into it, because it's about the Jews and everything, and there's multiple hints of Jesus throughout the entire film and everything, that he's around, he's not far away and everything. So I think that would be pretty. I think an epic type of thing like that would be pretty good. And you don't see a lot of religion these days in things for people to learn from, unless you really want to do it.
I mean, yeah.
In games especially.
Can't make you play games political. That would be a big no-no. Okay, 3 of mine. Okay. Number 1, Dawn of the Dead. Right? Now, I know what you're thinking when you say this. And, it's another zombie game. We've got millions of zombie games. And it's true, we do. But in Dawn of the Dead, specifically, after the initial outbreak and they're all running and it's chaos and madness, the one thing I really loved about the remake of Dawn of the Dead was the first 10 or so minutes. Otherwise, I was more of a fan of the older one, or the original Dawn of the Dead. But the part that interests me in terms of like playing it as a video game is when they basically locked in the shopping center or the mall, if you want to be American about it. And like I think that could be a really interesting sort of premise for a video game. It's not necessarily about fighting through the hordes of the undead and trying to reach the boat or the helicopter or whatever. I mean, imagine you probably have to do something like that for the end game, but the meat of the game being like, okay, we've barricaded ourselves in this shopping center. Now we just have to like survive. And instead of it being a fighting zombies game, it's a psychological thing of just like I'm trapped in this enclosed space with these people. Like how do I like not go crazy? It's kind of like what we're living with right now in the real world, but with zombies outside in a bigger location with more characters. Like every now and again, you could have like a thing where it's like, oh shit, the barricade in the basement, like you need to go and repair it, and maybe some zombies got in. There's a bit of action gameplay in there, but mostly it would be more focused on sort of the psychological aspect rather than necessarily the fighting zombies aspect. Because let's be honest, at this point, for a traditional straight up zombie game to be considered like amazing, it would have to be like one of the best games ever made, because we've all played those games a million times over.
That's true.
For my second one, I will go with The Mist.
Ooh.
As a straight up horror survival sort of thing, and purely because of the mist itself, where it's like, you know, there's things in the mist. So immediately you're in this game where you've got to try and survive during this situation, and you can't really see. I imagine it'll run beautifully on consoles because there'll be no draw distance, like because it's not rendering very much. But like the idea of like these creatures out in the mist, and sort of like if we could take sort of like the artificial intelligence of Alien Isolation and sort of adapt that into sort of the mist, I think that would be really cool. And I don't think like when Alien Isolation first came out, and I played it, and it was this sort of reactive AI that hunted you rather than just like walking set patterns and set routes. I was really disappointed that like more games didn't incorporate that kind of thing into their gameplay. And I think The Mist is a good one to sort of take that baton and run with it.
Will we be allowed to have enough bullets at the end?
I mean, that depends on how you play the game leading up to the end, right?
I'm making sure I have enough bullets at the end.
As to whether you've got enough bullets, that's entirely up to you. And the last one, I'm going to go classic science fiction book called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is better known as Blade Runner. It was the book that Blade Runner was based on. I read a bunch of... They re-released a bunch of classic science fiction books while I was in university. And I ended up reading a bunch of them for university. And then watching Blade Runner. And then being like, this book is amazing. This film is amazing. Where's my amazing Blade Runner game?
The sequel was even better.
Yeah. Denis Villeneuve, right? How do you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
Villeneuve. Like, he makes such good films. But I feel like it's the missing, like, piece of the puzzle. Like, you could make an amazing Blade Runner game if you did it properly. Like, you could make a terrible Blade Runner game if you didn't do it properly. But if it was a sort of, like, moody, cyberpunk-esque video game where you're playing as someone who's tracking down synths, you know, very light on the action, more in sort of the terms of the interactions with characters, the investigations, the figuring out who's a synth and who isn't, and just the general tone and atmosphere. And I think you've got an amazing game experience.
So cyberpunk meets LA Noire.
Yeah. Like,
pretty good though.
Yeah. Cyberpunk meets LA Noire. And that's the elevator pitch. And that's it. Unless, Keith, you came up with anything?
No.
Just blown away by our amazing pictures.
Yes. They've been giving me lots of ideas, but not for this.
Interesting. Well, I'll ask you what ideas they've been giving you after we finished. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. It went on really long. I knew it would because video games are our passion. And I love just imagining awesome video games. But for now, that's going to do it. So thank you very much for joining me. Dudes, say bye.
Bye.
Bye.